Hey, welcome back, Knicks fans. Sorry I've been away it's been about a week since I dropped my last video. But I'm thankful that you guys are back again. I'm thankful I'm able to do another video. Honestly, I did want to wait a little bit before I dropped another video because a lot of these games are pretty meaningless, right? I mean, there are some more victories, obviously. We want to see the young guys play, we want to see improvement from them. However, in terms of really trying to see who the impact players on the teams are, I didn't really want to continue doing that for the rest of this season. But it's good watching the games. It's good basically hearing what other uh, con- content makers have to say about the games. I want to give a shout out to the Nick of Time Show, Jay Ellis and Ryan G. And so, I listen to them quite often, and they always have a very good analysis of the game. They always, Jay Ellis is usually he's always his takes are usually very spot on. That's the reason why I listen to him. It's always very spot on. He's very sound, very grounded as well. But that's pretty much what I've been doing. I've been listening to a lot of their shows and also listening to what all the other fans have to say about it. I mean, this is probably some of the best community I've been a part of in terms of participating and listening as well. And I'm so glad that I get to do it. I get to listen to those guys. But so today I wanted to take a look at what I wanted to do was take a look at Obi Toppin, right? Now we've had a decent amount of games where Obi Toppin has played over 20 minutes. He hasn't had a lot of games this season where he played over 20 minutes. However, these are the games that Obi Toppin played over 20 minutes. There's only 17 of them, and really would have liked to wait for 20 games. And probably at the end of the season, I'm going to do another one of these or kind of do an overall analysis of Obi Toppin's numbers to see what it looks like. But 17 is decent enough. I wanted to basically just I really wanted to show players. I mean, I'm sorry. I really wanted to show a lot of the fans, like how good Obi Toppin really is, and how good how much he's going to contribute to winning basketball as well. I've been saying it for a while. I kind of had an idea. I always kind of felt like he was going to be pretty good because of his efficiency. However, now that he's playing a lot more and getting more comfortable, I'm seeing a lot of things that are just, that really kind of blew my mind. That now makes me think he's actually going to end up being a better player than Julius Randle, in my opinion. Julius Randle could end up being way better than Obi Toppin could ever be. Julius could. Julius can dribble, pass, and shoot, but but we all know that it's really about what's upstairs with Julius Randle, what's in his head. Feel like he doesn't always have a great feel for the game, and then also it's honestly his discipline is a problem, right? And we saw that's a problem because he got paid and he showed up to camp and he basically came into the season out of shape. We learned about that, and I guess we can tell he was out of shape because he was very lax on the defensive end. There was a lot of times where he just wasn't even making an effort. There's some times where he did show an effort, made an effort, but then a lot of times he wasn't making an effort. And so I'm contributing that to him being out of shape. The other thing that it could be, given Julius Randle's attitude sometimes, it could just also be because like they added Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker to that lineup, and those guys are not very good defensive players. Those guys really struggle on the defensive end. And Julius Randle just seems like the kind of person he gets easily frustrated. I mean, you can just tell he gets easily frustrated. And so if you have two weak defenders on a lineup, and then which they're trying to play team defense, and especially a lot of times when they run basically when they get attacked with a pick and roll, when it's Julius Randle and Evan Fournier, you can just tell Julius Randle early in the season. You can tell he was just like a lot of times he would just throw his hands up. So that could also be one of the reasons why he gave up on the defensive end a lot of times this year. Is not an excuse. He was the leader of this team. Got paid a boatload of money, so he should have showed up on the defensive end. On the offensive end, like he was definitely 41%. You can't do that when you're the leader of the team. You have to shoot a lot better than that. However, I was just really looking to see. It would have been good, even if he shot poorly from the field. It would have been good to see him put in an effort on the defensive end. And honestly, that is really the reason the fans started to boo. Started to boo him. I kind of felt like it was his defensive effort, and so that's kind of what I feel about Julius Randle. I think he's a very talented player. However, it's just like I feel like his reading of the game is just not where it should be, and his feel is just not where it should be, and he just gets really easily frustrated. And I think he tends to give up a lot, and also he just didn't come. He wasn't prepared to play this season, and then on top of that, the coach was playing him basically 40 minutes a game, and he was out of shape. The one thing with this coach he cannot do is if you want guys to play on both ends of the court, and so this is where okay, you kind of have to. I have to give Julius the benefit of a doubt a little bit. If you want Julius Randle to play both ends of the court and put in maximum effort both ends of the court, playing 30 minutes a game, if you play Julius Randle 30 minutes a game, you may be able to see better effort from him on a defensive end. Not just Julius Randle, a lot of these players, it's like, but if you're going to play him 40 minutes a game and he knows you're going to play him 40 minutes a game, he's going to take a lot of possessions off. That's just what's going to happen. And so that's kind of what the issues with Julius Randle was this year. We've talked about it so much, but just wanted to, get it out of the way. But the whole point of this was to take a better look at Obi Toppin and then compare him to Julius Randle. And so let's start with Obi Toppin. Like I said, he played 17 games this year so far where he's gotten more than 20 minutes. Only 17 games. It's unbelievable. And in those 17 games, they were 8-9. It's not too terrible. However, they were -7 in some of those games. Some of those games where that Obi Toppin played over 20 minutes too, one of the reasons he did get a chance to play, not all those games, but some of them, one of the reasons he got a chance to play like close to or about 20 minutes in some of those games was because the Knicks were getting blown out. The one that comes to mind specifically was like the Miami Heat game. They were basically getting blown out, and so they brought in the bench, including Obi Toppin. And I think they played basically the second half, and they almost came back. They put in a really good effort. So they're -7 overall in the games that they played. In terms of like, if you net off all the margins of victory in all the games that Obi Toppin got over 20 minutes, they were -7, right? But his plus minus while he was on the court was 130, which is very interesting, right? I mean, the plus minus for me, you always have to take it with a grain of salt. It measures for me, I think it really just measures team chemistry. But it's very interesting that his plus minus for when he's playing over 20 minutes a game is 130. That's something really good, to keep an eye on. That's something very interesting that you should keep an eye on. And also, you want to remember, like a lot of these games that he did play 20 minutes, I would say about half of these games, Julius Randle also did play in these games, right? And so that's something you want to keep in mind. Keep in mind on. And points per game, he was averaging almost 15 points a game in these games. It was 14.6 points per game. He was shooting about 55% from the field, which is extremely important. The name of this game is efficiency, right? The reason why the Knicks were terrible this year was because your three top producers were shooting basically about 41% from the field. Julius Randle was shooting 41% from the field. R.J. Barrett most of the season was shooting 41% from the field. And then you had Alec Burks was shooting about 38, 39% from the field, or 40, whatever it was. You can't have three of your major producers averaging, basically shooting about 41% from the field or 40% on average. That's just atrocious, The league average is somewhere like 45% shooting. I mean, so the rest of the league on average is 5% more, a whole 5% more efficient than your top producers on the team. And so this is where Obi Toppin, this is why it's good to get, I think he's going to make a better player because number one, his efficiency is really high. He deserves more minutes. When you have a player that's this efficient, you want to have him on the court more, and you want to get the ball to him as much as you can. You want to run a lot more, as much plays for him as you can. Especially lately, we've been seeing with Obi Toppin, the way he's been playing. you definitely want to get him the ball a lot more. Like like I've really seen him now being able to put the ball on the floor. He's going behind the back, curl, like basically in and out, dribble moves. It's kind of insane how comfortable he's become on the court, and it's crazy to see how good of a handle he has. And so it's really interesting to see that, right? And so I'm really happy I'm able to see how he's been able to put the ball on the floor, go to the basket, get his own buckets. A lot of people were talking about, oh, you need point guard. Everybody was saying, oh, you need a point guard for Obi Toppin. That's not necessarily true. I've always felt like you didn't necessarily need a point guard for him because, number one, he was always able to get his own points in the post. He always seemed pretty comfortable getting the points in the post. And I've already early in the season we saw him put the ball on the floor a few times where he was pretty comfortable going straight to the basket, right? And then also, it's just a lot of times when they ran play, basically a lot of times they weren't running plays for him. They were just sticking him in the corner. And so if you're sticking this guy, a big man, in the corner and he's still shooting like 52% on the year from the field, I mean, that's really good. That tells you one thing. He makes good judgments. He doesn't play outside of himself. And he takes good shots. That's really the same thing as making good judgments, right? And so, that's the thing that's really interesting about Obi. The one thing he definitely needs to improve, these games that he played, he averaged about 6 rebounds. And I think he averaged about 28 minutes in these games. And he basically was averaging 6 rebounds. So it looks like if Obi Toppin was a starting power forward, he'll probably get around average about 7. If you're optimistic, maybe 8 rebounds a game. I feel like it's something he really needs to work on. The best, for the team to be good, almost 4.3 defensive rebound is not bad. It's not terrible. However, at his position, what helps the basketball team win games is our ability to rebound, to close out possessions by rebounding, the basketball, especially getting the defensive rebound. So something he really needs to work on if he's going to have to be the power forward on his team, that he really needs to work on it. Now, we're going to go to where he's really going to make his money. This is why Obi Toppin is going to be a winning basketball player. It's over here. I've already talked about his efficiency. When you start to look at the true shooting percentages and effective field goal percentages, it is, it's really good. It's pretty crazy. These are really, really good stats. I don't want to make any comparisons yet to other players because he just hasn't gotten enough minutes. But Obi Toppin, I think, is going to be a really good player. You can see by the way he plays, he keeps the defense off balance so much because, number one, they realize, okay, his jump shot is okay, his three-point shot is okay. Because in these games, he shot about 35% from the three-point line. So he shot 35% from the three-point line in the games that he averaged over 20 minutes a game. And then he can put the ball on the floor. And so because of that, he's able to keep a lot of the defenses off balance. And then on top of that, too, the thing you notice is if he basically has a lane to the basket and you're under the lane, I saw it with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was trying to dive out of the way. When he goes to the basket hard, people are going to start moving out of the way because they don't want to be in a poster. Because he goes up so fast and with so much viciousness, I think if he gets more practice and he keeps doing it, I think he's going to be, a real threat, a real offensive threat. And if you look here, true shooting percentage is 64%. Effective field goal percentage is 61%. And his usage is only 21%. And which is, his usage really started creeping up lately. Early in the season, it wasn't that much. Actually, no, it was. There were some games where it was kind of high when he was on the court. But 21%, to average about 14, almost 15 points a game, and shoot 55%. And also in terms of turnovers, I don't have his turnover numbers here, but he was averaging about 2 assists a game in these games. And so it's not bad for 21%. That actually, it's good. It is good, for the production that he's giving you. And then the other thing that shows, why he's a really good player. Like, look at these numbers. This is the 17 games he played, and he got over 20 minutes a game. His net rating is 7. The team's net rating while he was on the floor is 17. The offensive rating is 129. Defensive rating is like 111, almost 112, with a net rating of 17. Right? This is pretty bananas. This is what tells me like he's a winning player, and they're better off moving forward with him. These are, look, I'm not saying he's Joker, but these are kind of Joker type stats. When you look up Joker's statistics, it's like these are the kind of numbers he puts up. Joker basically offensive rating while he's on the floor with the team is around the same, like 129, 130, somewhere in that ballpark. And defensive rating is usually about 111, 112. Obviously it's something he needs to work on. He's actually a much more solid defender than we thought he was, but because he's going to be playing against starters, he definitely has a lot of work to do. He's actually really good protecting the basket, especially he's really good protecting the basket, a lot better than I thought. He's a really good shot blocker, obviously, because he has really good leaping ability. But like I said, look at this, net rating of 17 in these games. That is huge. And that's with the margin of victory being -7. When you net off all the margin of victory, it was -7. So you can tell he was a huge contributor to a lot of these games. Because a lot of these games, they lost a lot of these games, right? But you have to remember he was coming off the bench in at least half of these games. And so it wasn't like he was a starter getting like full-time minutes. And so that's why this net rating is extremely important. And again, he was 8 and 9 overall, right? Like I said, he's a winning player. And the reason why he's a winning player, in my opinion, is because, number one, he's scoring 15 points a game, right? While averaging 28 minutes a game, right? He's averaging 15 points a game on 55% shooting, right? And then you go over to his true shooting percentage is 64%. The league average for true shooting, I think maybe is like 57, 50, about 57, 58. That's really good. 64% true shooting is really good. And the thing that's been dragging it down is the three-point shooting. It's not that impressive, but 35%, it's not horrible either. And then effective field goal is 61%. The league average for effective field goals by 50, I think it's 52 or 53%, somewhere in that range. I mean, he's he's basically 6 or 7% more efficient than basically the rest of the league. And then, like I said, you look at this net rating is there while he's on the floor, the team is plus 17. The net rating is plus 17. It's extremely impressive, So now we're going to take a look. Excuse me. Now we're going to take a look at his comparison to Julius. So this is going to be pretty quick. We don't want to belabor the, just beat a dead horse. I don't want to talk too much. I don't want to be too negative about Julius anymore. It's just not. It's just you just want to prove your point and show, where he fell short this year. And a lot of people, have had a lot to say about it, and a lot of people have made their points, and I've also made my point. But this here, we're just talking about Julius because we want to compare him to Obi Toppin, right? And so Julius Randle shooting 41%. The reason why I think Obi Toppin is just going to be a better player because he's just more efficient, and I think he feels the game a lot better. He keeps the defense way more off balance than Julius does. Julius basically allows the defense to converge on him and kind of to get an advantage on him, and then he tries to react that by getting the ball to someone else and creating an advantage that way. But you rarely see Julius Randle keep the defense off balance, right? But Obi Toppin, the games we've been seeing him play, the defense is constantly off balance because he's very quick. He's constantly moving. He creates a lot of lanes for other players as well. But we're going to talk about efficiency here and the production. So the things I just talked about is kind of what you're seeing on the court. It's kind of hard to what you see. It's kind of hard to quantify that stuff and how he keeps defenses off balance. But we can talk about some real stats here. And this is not cherry picking. This is essentially, stats is the same stats from Basketball Reference for both players. We're looking at field goal percentages and we're looking at production. basically production per minute, according to basketballreference.com. And we're going to look at the win shares as well. He's shooting 41. Julius is shooting 41%. Obi shooting 52%. That's 11% more efficient. 11% more efficient than Julius Randle. That's staggering. That's huge, right? 3-point percentage is, for Obi has been terrible this year. It's 27%. But he's been getting better lately since he's been getting more minutes. And we're starting to see this has been so poor because honestly, they say he's been getting about 15 minutes a game, but a lot of the games Drew Obi has been playing, he's been really getting a lot of games. He's only been getting like 8 minutes a game. A lot of times he gets he gets 4 minutes in the second quarter and then gets about 4 minutes in the fourth, actually maybe 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. So he tends to play usually 7 to 10 minutes a game. Because of basically how they do the averages, and there's some games where he actually got a lot of minutes, especially recently where he's been getting over 30 minutes a game. It makes it seem like he's averaging like 15 minutes, but most of the games he's actually playing between I want to say between 8 and 10 minutes a game. And so I feel that's why this 3-point percentage is down. But let's not dwell on that, because the most important thing is the field goal percentage, and he's 11% more efficient than Julius Randle from the field. Effective field goal percentage. Julius is 46%. Obi is 57%. That's another 11% more efficient. Then this is like where it's way more important. You see now his minutes have started to increase. This is what I've been talking about with people before. When people claim I was cherry picking stats and all this stuff, the PER, production per minute, is really important because it's a way to kind of like compare two players, right, that are getting different minutes. Because before, Julius Randle was getting like 40 minutes a game and Obi is getting 8 to 10 minutes. It's very difficult you can compare efficiency, right? But sometimes even like efficiency for someone who's getting very little minutes like Obi tends to be really bad. Because if you don't get very good feel for the game, a lot of times, look at Miles McBride. Although his is way worse. Miles McBride sometimes gets like 3 to 4 minutes a game. But when you look at players that get very little minutes per game, like when it's like in single digits, a lot of times their efficiency tends to be extremely skewed. Especially if you're like Obi, where he's playing really far from the basket, it tends to be really skewed. But that's the thing that makes him even more impressive, because even with the little minutes that he plays, he's still shooting 52% from the field. And so that's extremely important. And it's not like, people's claim, yeah, he's cherry picking. Like, are you telling me now he's still just cherry picking? That's all he's doing? And it's great. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with cherry picking. There's nothing wrong with getting, fast break points and easy buckets. That's good for him and it's great for the team. But let's talk about these PERs right now. Notice as his minutes has started to creep up, the production per minutes is now about 1.6 more than like Julius Randle. He's actually eclipsed Julius Randle, and if you look at the win shares, Julius Randle's win share is 3.1. Julius Randle has basically, I think, has gotten like overall minutes probably 3 times the amount of minutes Obi Toppin has gotten. This is the most important one. 3 times more minutes than Obi Toppin has gotten. And Obi Toppin has a higher win share than Julius Randle does. I mean, to me, that's really what tells you like who the better player is. And he's basically trending up as well, right? And so I just think, he's just going to be a much better player. And then if you look at the win shares per 48, this right here, Julius Randle for the year is 0.058. Obi is 0.12. Win shares per 48. He doubles Julius Randle, right? And this is actually going to keep creeping up as he gets more and more minutes, right? And so this is just what it is. If you look at his Julius Randle's, I'm trying to see if I can pull it up, his stats, so we can look at his win shares per 48 minutes. So I wanted to look up Julius Randle's win shares per 48 minutes, basically for each of the seasons that he's played. And it's actually not bad, We're going to ignore the first year because he was injured the whole year. Second year, he was 21. His PR was low. Win share per 48 was only 0.35. But he was young. Really, his first year. Second year, his real second year was 0.08. He did improve. Like it went up to 0.14 in 2017, 2018. 2018, 2019 was 0.13. Then 2019, 2020 with the Knicks, it dipped to 0.06. Last year, it went up to 0.14, right? And then this year, it just tanked and went down to 0.058. But if you look here, so he's been up and down. So maybe next year he may come back with like more, basically more of a desire or basically more to prove, and maybe that his stats, he plays better next year and all his stats improve again. And so that's definitely a possibility, right? However, you kind of like this better because number one, he's trending up. This is only his second year in this league, and his win shares is already 0.12. Julius Randle's second year in the league, his win shares point per 48 was 0.08, right? And so, although his third year, and he was 23 his third year, so this probably a little more comparable to Obi, is 0.14, and so yeah, it was actually really good. It was actually pretty good, right? His win shares per 48, but he was starting, right, and Obi is actually coming off the bench. So that's actually the difference. It's really the difference between Obi and Julius. So Obi is still pretty good, right? Because number one, he was getting way less minutes than Julius was. But either way, we're comparing the stats this year and what we see. And of course, Obi Toppin is just looking right now like he's going to be the better option at power forward, at least for the New York Knicks. So that's pretty much what I have, folks. Let me know what you guys think about it. Please comment below, like, and subscribe. I'll be more than happy to respond to your comments. Thank you so much.